Being compliant is just straightforward. Being maliciously compliant? Well, that's another story. Welcome to this episode of Malicious Compliance. Our first one is from Prestigious Promise 20. This is pretty complicated, so sorry it's going to be long. In the early years of being a pharmacist, jobs in my city were hard to come by. I managed to get full-time hours by working for a couple of pharmacist friends at both of their stores. They would work out my schedule together and put an X on my schedule on the days I was at the opposing store. One store was downtown, and one was in the suburb I lived in. At the suburb pharmacy, I had a coworker, Dee, who could just not wrap her brain around the fact that if there was an X by my name, I was in fact working just at the other store. Multiple times I would have call after call on my cell phone and hang-ups on my answering machine at home because she wanted me to cover her shift at the suburb store when I was already working downtown. Worst thing was my cell phone charged me for every single call, so after the second time of her pulling this, I would get downtown and immediately pull the battery off my phone. This made her angry at me for ignoring her, and we had a tepid relationship after that. Time went on and the suburb store started expanding their nursing home operation, so I was able to work there full-time instead. I still had a great relationship with the downtown store and they had me keep the keys in case of emergencies. They would occasionally come by and the X would be on my schedule by my name. Sadly, Dee became the assistant manager and now thought she was the boss of me. Now, downtown pharmacist's daughter was getting married and suburb pharmacist was invited to all the festivities. I got scheduled to work the Thursday before at the downtown store. The X went by my name on the suburb schedule. I was also going to the wedding. I was good friends with the daughter, but missing the Mendy party on Thursday, I was working for her mom. I was on the phone with her on my break one time and she was saying how sorry she was I was missing it, and I said, "Don't worry, I'll just doodle brown Sharpie all over my hands and pretend I was there when we aren't busy." Now, at that exact week, we were getting new pharmacy software downloaded. Nursing homes are run on a batch system where all the labels are run about 5 days before, and then all the bubble packs are made up during that time, and then the actual billing is done on the Thursday for the meds to be delivered a Friday. Dee decided that she did not want the batch to be done and just wanted everything to be processed and made up on the Thursday for just this first week. My technician was freaking out, so I told her to just make up the usual drug cards, Liptor, Aspirin 81, multivitamin, Altace, etc., without any patient data, just to help speed things along. Dee overheard and told the tech she wasn't allowed to do that, and this younger generation is just scared of hard work. I panicked a bit because I was the only one of my age, Gen X, as all my coworkers were boomer aged or older. I went and checked the schedule. Yep, there's an X by my name. I won't be there for the shit show, but somehow Dee thinks I am? Why should I tell her any different? Thursday rolls around, and at 12:30, my cell phone starts blowing up. It's in my purse in the safe because I don't get a lunch break, only pharmacist, and everyone can hear it. Out comes the battery. I get home after work and they're screaming and swearing on my answering machine. A locum pharmacist worked the morning shift and wasn't instructed to do anything, so everything was left for Dee when she arrived at 12:30. She had to work late to finish over 500 prescription drug cards. I come in the next day and she's still furious. "You said you were working. I heard you talking about the effing Mindy thing." I told her I was working, just not at that store, as evidenced by the X by my name. I learned then that she could eavesdrop on the break room from one place in the pharmacy when she herself was the only pharmacist working at the time. All my breaks were taken in my car after that. This is a case of somebody who was promoted that just should not have been promoted because it's pretty sad they can't even tell if an X is by an employee's name that they're working at the other location for the day. Like, I don't even understand who thought it was a good idea to promote this person when they couldn't even do that basic shit, especially if they're dealing with running a pharmacy? Wow. And our final one is by M Wood 60. This all happened about 20 years ago when I was in 7th grade, 12 to 13 years old for those not in the US school systems. I remember this day vividly, as it was one of my most rebellious actions against authority I had done in my school years. My 7th grade science teacher was a curmudgeonly lady that we'll call Mrs. Evans. Now, Mrs. Evans had no joys in her job of teaching preteens the foundations of science, but did enjoy sending students to the principal for minor infractions. An easy way of getting sent to the principal was through dress code violations. Throughout the entirety of the school year with her, I'd seen Mrs. Evans send no less than 75% of the class to the principal's office for dress code violation, with most being the girls in the class wearing shirts that were too revealing because their shoulders were showing, with others usually being something easily fixed, like wearing a hat. I showed up to class in my standard outfit that I had been wearing up to that point in the school year, a t-shirt and jeans. However, being the outdoorsy kid I was, I had a slight tear on the knee of one of my pants legs. Mrs. Evans honed in on this slight tear and instructed me that I would need to be wearing jeans without a tear in them for her to be able to teach class without distraction, and to go to the principal if I was unable to do so. Being a smart-ass 13-year-old, I decided to comply by going to my locker, getting my stapler out, and stapling the tear shut on my jeans. Upon returning to class, this was not good enough for Mrs. Evans, keeper of the dress code. She repeated her previous instruction and said that if I returned without the torn jeans being replaced, I was going to go to the principal. Cue malicious compliance too. I went straight back to my locker, got a pair of scissors out, and cut off the entire leg of the jeans with the offending tear, much to my mother's later dismay. Upon my return to the classroom, Mrs. Evans was quite unhappy. The rest of the class was now properly distracted from her doing, much to her chagrin. But Mrs. Evans was the keeper of the code for a reason, one supposed. She cited a lane in the school handbook saying, "No phrase on any clothing allowed." This time I was sent to the principal. I had never gotten in too much trouble in school, was in a lot of advanced placement courses, and played football and track for the school, so my record was pretty clean. The principal was confused as to why I was sent, until I told him I'd just come from Mrs. Evans' class, which told him enough after he saw one pant leg normal and the other pant leg completely cut below the knee. He told me to please just wear my gym shorts and have this be the end of it. Cue malicious compliance 3. I returned to class wearing my gym shorts for the day, wearing them over the offending jeans. Mrs. Evans, keeper of the code, decided this warranted a call to the principal from the class phone to report me and get me into further turmoil. However, I think the principal was just done with getting his time wasted that day. After Mrs. Evans got him on the phone and spoke her piece, there was a long silence while he assumably responded to her. She then hung up the phone, her face slightly flushed, and proceeded with the lesson. I never once got called out on any dress code violations by the keeper of the code for the remainder of my middle school years. I feel like we've all had a teacher like Mrs. Evans, that we've all had that teacher that just nitpicked every single little thing, would whip out the handbook and point it out, when in reality, everybody else, most of the administration, really didn't care. It was just that one person. Alright, that's enough maliciousness for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of Malicious Compliance. If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload, and drop a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm and helps new people find my channel. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons and super thanks contributors. Have a great day and stay safe out there.